Welcome back, Folksters, to episode
Hey,
8.
buddy, how's
I
it
can't
going?
believe I can't believe that this therapy session has lasted this long, guys. I feel like everyone in New York has a psychiatrist, and I don't have a psychiatrist. I don't think I've never had a need for one, but I feel like I'm in a psychiatry session. I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm having fun. Are you having fun?
Yeah, this is awesome. Actually, yeah, like every single time when we sit down and talk, it's very cathartic and it does better my day.
Yeah, like I look forward to it. Like I feel like I'm at a bar, just chatting with you,
Yeah,
Roberto,
exactly.
getting to know you, but also reliving the past. You know, kind of helps me appreciate the adventures I've been through. And as you know, the show is about basically a reality show about startups, entrepreneurship, the American dream, and chasing it. And we're basically catching up to the present, where both of us are running two companies. One called Mass Realty, the other one called Phuc
Yep.
Labs. They're ongoing, startups that are basically at the ground floor, but we're getting some traction, and we're patching up to where we basically are right now. So basically, this shirt here, you see what it says? It says clinicalresearch.io.
Awesome.
So you know baseball,
I've
right?
heard of it. Yes.
You know, you know the rules of baseball. How many strikes before you're out?
3.
Okay, so first strike was Crimson Solutions.
Okay.
Strike one, that was when I was 20, and I first started my company when I was a junior in college. Strike two was a social network I ran called Up
Yep.
Down, where I raised $2 million with some Harvard Business
Check it
School
out. Check out the
partners, and
latest episode to get more
we,
information on
we,
the
tr-
up down.
we tried to basically run a Facebook, but for
Yeah.
stocks, called updown.com.
hmm
And then strike three was when I did a bootstrapped startup where I grew it to $1 million plus, using SEO tactics for real estate. And I was down and out. I mean, we were going down because of Google. I wasn't out yet, but I could tell it was going to be like one of those punches that was going to take us down, or we had to really figure out a
But that one was
way.
different though because I mean, like
And as
they changed the rules
go
on
ahead.
you halfway through, so that's like a different situation. Like it's not like you messed up as a company, but like we talked about, it was like all collateral damage. Like you didn't mess up on this one.
Well, yeah, you can't blame it on, whatever. You just have to blame it on like I didn't diversify enough. I didn't
hmm
make myself resilient.
Okay. Yeah.
I leaned on one golden ticket, and it wasn't even within my control. It was something where it was a game someone had set up. So I was like, I gotta get revenge on this play, and that's what Mass Realty is, right? It's a revenge. It's like, okay, how do we do this again, so that we don't rely on Google? Well, maybe we rely on Google, we rely on Instagram, we rely on these other platforms, but we actually build our own
Yeah.
audience,
Yeah.
and we build something special. We build our own platform rather than just being essentially a search result
Okay.
in someone else's
Yeah,
platform,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Like be more
So,
independent.
so as you know, that's what we're doing with Mass Realty. We spoke about Mass Realty, what we're doing there, and actually, I'm gonna talk about how we met your wife Magali towards the end of this episode.
Yes.
Let's go continue where we left off, where the adventures was on the third strike. Mass Realty had been dealt a body blow by Google because the algorithm had changed, and we basically were scrambling, and I had to lay off people, and I even knew that I had to go consulting, right? So I was consulting, and I did a bunch of projects. And one of the projects, I met this person named
Yep.
Raymond, and he knew that Mass Realty was struggling, and he's like, hey, his background was he went to Harvard undergrad, Harvard Law School. I didn't know him until so a friend of mine introduced me to him recently, and I had consulted with him, and he was a client of mine, and he said, hey, I have an idea for this company because I recently bought a clinical research business and it's very inefficient, and I was trying to scale it beyond one location, and I had lots of issues, and it's basically everything's paper based. I was like, seriously, everything's
He
paper
came up to
based?
you?
Huh? What's that? He came to
Okay.
me because he knew about my background,
Yeah.
and we were friendly because we had been working together successfully on actually another startup idea he
Okay.
had, and I built it for him. And basically the idea was, if we can make this paperless, we can basically take all these research sites, these doctors that are doing research, and there's only 3,000 of them in the U.S., 3,000, 5,000 of them that actually
Yeah.
matter, like research sites at companies or doctors.
Okay.
And they basically do all the research, including all the COVID research. So basically, every single drug that comes on the market has to be tested through the FDA.
Yes.
There's phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and phase 1 is for essentially healthy patients to make sure that the drug doesn't kill you. So I'll give you a quick education about clinical research, because I was the CEO of that company for 4.5 years, and not many people know about research.
Okay.
But did you know that the drugs that that were given to
on
you,
the market or anything?
people had to actually try them, obviously, right? So people had to test them to make sure they work, that they were safe, that the efficacy was there, that they worked, basically, that they did what they said. And so phase 1 typically is for a healthy patient. They would have college students or people on the subway. You might see the subway, hey, you want to go and spend the weekend doing a clinical research trial. And typically what happens is they just give you a medication and make sure you don't die. And you don't even have to have the disease.
Well, they don't even tell you, though. Like, I remember, like, one of my friends at university, he used to, like, every now and then, like, to, like, round up the end of the month, he would go into these things, and then you either get, like, the placebo or the actual medicine, and then but you don't know. You just show up there, and they keep you, like, over a weekend, and then you leave with a check. And
that's phase 1. So you actually, so that's the idea. So you basically get this thing.
Okay.
This whatever, it could be a vaccine, it could be some type of stuff. And the idea is just make sure you have healthy patients who have strong immune systems, who won't die if something bad happens, and they keep you over the weekend. And so they even have these stadiums. They'll have these stadiums, and they'll have 500 people show up. Let's say, right? And they'll say, okay, we're going to give you a series of tests, and then those they invite to stay. They can stay the weekend. They get paid a certain amount.
Yeah, and it was like easy money. All you have to be is like not sick. So that was
exactly.
That was the appeal of this. Like, there's not a lot of qualifications. Like, you don't need a specific. And for the ones.
And you can get paid like $200 a night or something like that. So $500 a weekend, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so do you know that patient? You know how much that one site makes?
No.
Okay, it's $1,000 a visit.
Okay.
Okay, so that site, at least $1,000 a visit, right? But that site, because they're doing over the weekend, because they have the hospital setting, because they can charge even more.
Yeah.
So they might charge maybe like $5,000.
Okay, a lot more.
$10,000.
Okay.
$10,000 that patient, right? So they're basically keeping the $10,000, right, for that patient, and they're paying that patient $500.
Yeah, not even. It wasn't that good. Okay. Well, that's the business.
Well, but it's fair because
you're
basically that's like that's you're staying over the weekend, you're just watching your phone, you're eating whatever the hospital food or whatever the food they give you. You're hanging out with the people around you. Maybe I don't know, they give you access.
It counts as work, and you're getting a good check at the end of it.
So that's phase 1, and then phase 2 is once they know that kind of safe and that they want to move on, they try it on real patients, a small amount, anywhere between 10 to a couple hundred, right? But you probably want like around 100 or so. Okay, so that's phase 2, or maybe 20, 30, depending on what you're trying to prove, right? And that once you get past that, then you do phase 3, and then hopefully approval at some point, phase 3, 4, right?
Okay, how many phases are there?
So that's so it's basically it's phase 3, and then you're done, or phase 4, right? So depending on like how much basically phase 4 is like you're done, right? So if you want to get to phase 4 for something that's like a big,
and then it goes to the market.
Sure, something that and then it goes to market. So basically, but I think you can also expedite some drugs if you get to phase 3, depending on the situation. So I think it's not necessarily like exactly 4 phases, but definitely at least 3.
Okay.
Definitely 3, and sometimes like for example, the new drug, the one that was for COVID, molnupiravir, right? That was expedited because it worked so well that for the public good, the FDA would then expedite that.
Yeah, there was like
but anyway, so these mom and pops, there's actually 3 types of sites. So the first type of site is what you think of. So what do you think of when you do clinical research? Can you tell me what you think of? Like, who's doing it, do you think?
I'm assuming qualified people that know, that have like a nice setup where they can monitor absolutely everything that goes on as soon as they give you something.
Yeah. So that's the phase 1 for sure. Okay. But how about phase 2 and phase 3? What do you think? So phase 2 is like they might give you a medication. Let's say a medication for diabetes. They say take this medication, and then just keep track of this, and then come in the office once a week, and then for the next 10 weeks, we'll pay you $100, $75 each time you come in. So by the end of the study, you're gonna make $1,000, $750 to $1,000, and then you get this drug, and either this drug is true, or this drug is not placebo. Basically, it's the fake drug, and then it might be the real drug, but we don't know. Sometimes the most of the studies are double-blinded, where the person giving it to you can't tell, and you can't tell as the patient, so no one really knows. And then that way, no one's really cheating because there's no bias.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That
So
makes
you
sense.
need that third party. So the pharma company, typically what they do is they hire a consultant, right? The consultant is what they call a clinical research organization, a fancy name, right? CRO, right? Clinical research organization. And these guys say, okay, let me find you a bunch of research sites around the country. Dr. So-and-so, this hospital. And so that's actually three types typically, right? So one would be a hospital. And you think the hospitals do the most, but they do very little. Because they have a lot of other stuff to work on, like they have healthcare. And healthcare makes so much money. So healthcare makes trillions of dollars, right? But do you know how much clinical research makes the entire country? You know how much the entire industry is?
They must be pretty big. I'm guessing like it's like the pharmaceutical industry must be pretty big. How much then?
Yeah, 60 billion.
60 billion.
60 billion. Wow, that's super big, right?
Is.
So let's say the comparison is dating. Dating is 10 billion.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So clinical research is 6 times bigger, but healthcare is $1 trillion.
$1 trillion? Damn.
Correct.
Okay, you want to chunk
So
it
let's
up.
say you're the hospital.
Yeah.
Let's say you're the hospital, right? And you're making, I don't know, $1 trillion a year on the hospital. And when you do healthcare, it works exactly the same way. You have a patient come in, they're looking for a checkup, and you fill in these 10 things. Okay. All right. Or let's say you have a specialist that'll do these specific procedures, and you enter into this database, and it's all electronic, right? Does that make sense? So you go to the hospital, like you see all these like computers everywhere, right? Okay, but let's say this drug company.
Okay.
They ask you to give this special drug for 100 patients, and do it a specific way.
Okay.
Right? Well, these hospitals aren't really interested in that because that's a lot of work, especially for like $1,000. And so what they do is, they'll do it, because of the hobby or the interest, or because they would have the famous doctor on it, and pharma company pays the famous doctor. Famous doctor gets 2 patients maybe, right? And what happens is, to get the real patients, they have to go to the other 2 types. So the other 2 types are like, either you're a clinic, like a small time clinic, okay? And you're making $1 million, $2 million to $3 million a year, something like that. That's usually how much a small mom and pop clinic is. It's like a husband-wife team where the wife is the nurse, and the husband is the doctor, or maybe the wife's the doctor.
They could put on like a private practice situation there.
So yeah, or maybe it's just the doctor and then a couple of assistants. But these guys can also have these patients come in and say, look, you have acne, right? So why don't you do this acne trial, and I can help you because this acne trial can potentially solve your acne problems. So for them, you can get an extra $1,000, right, for that patient, because that patient gets an extra $1,000 per visit, and times 10. Yeah. That's $10,000 if that patient says yes.
It does build up.
Yeah, the patient says yes,
they have access to all
right?
these like what you're looking for. Like you want these guys with different problems, and wherever they come from, it doesn't really matter.
Right, but the thing is, who are you gonna trust? You gonna trust the doctor that you go to for 20 years, of course, right? So the pharma companies, they need these guys, because these guys are the ones with the relationship. They speak Spanish, they speak Chinese, they speak Vietnamese, and they've been the general practitioner or specialist, whatever, for all this time, or was in the healthcare system that was trusted by the patient. And then they go and they refer them into this side business.
Okay, so you're looking for like the relationship that they have more than them themselves. It's like the connections to the community.
Exactly. So we talked about copying success.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you're a doctor, you're a dentist, and you want a little side hustle. All you need to do is literally go to clinicalresearch.io. We have a starter package, $5,000, right? You buy the software, it gets you all started, we give you some training and stuff, and we even help you, like point you in the right direction of how to get the leads, and you just apply for these trials. And literally when you have a patient in there, you say, okay, I see you have diabetes. We tried all these drugs, but there's all these other options for you that actually might be something that if you're in this situation could be an option for you that isn't available right now on the market. So if you're the patient, you're like, okay, nothing works right now on the market, and I have access to something early, and maybe it helps me, and at the worst, it helps society.
Yeah, and for the doctors, I mean, like they have these clients anyway, these patients anyway, so like referring to something else is just like easy and simple. They don't have to there's a lot of work to put in front of them.
Right, but again, the doctors, again, they have the healthcare systems. The healthcare systems do this one thing, and they're using paper to collect this information and do the side hustle. Right, so there's two side hustles so far. So the first side hustle is from the hospital, right? The second side hustle is from these small clinics.
Yeah.
But the third one is the independent research sites that are small businesses that Raymond bought. So Raymond, the partner, bought one. His background he was in law school. He became a lawyer. He hated it. Then he went to Boston Consulting Company, did that for a while, and then he didn't like that, and then he decided to buy a small business.
Okay.
And then this wasn't working out so well because a lot of paperwork, right? Because he's running it. So what he doesn't even have doctors. He basically has patients, and then he'll hire a contractor, and the contractor's a doctor.
Huh.
Right? The doctor will be the contractor, and he'll basically be what's called a PI, the primary investigator.
Okay.
And so it's actually a small business, and so you might have like 20 trials running at a time. So you might have acne, you might have rosacea, which is a skin disease. You might have also a diabetes medicine. You might have a vaccine trial. You might have a bunch of stuff. As long as you get your hands on it and you have the specialists and the doctors that can actually help you do it. You can also have these nurses, and you don't even have to have nurses. You can essentially just have these study coordinators, and they don't have to be licensed. They just can be regular people, right? Right? And the doctor is the one who does all the procedures, obviously, right?
The other people.
But most of the work is collecting data, following through with the patient, distributing the medicine, all that stuff. And all this stuff is something that, a regular person can do. But sometimes they have nurses do it, but you don't have to have a nurse, right? And it's actually a pretty good industry to get into.
No, definitely.
But they don't make much. They make like $2-3 million a business. Like all of them make like $2-3 million.
You can live up pretty
well. The really
well.
good ones make like $8 million, maybe $5 million, but that's it.
Yeah.
So so that means that these guys are doing paper too, right? Because they don't have money. I mean, the EMR systems, the hospitals, they have an IT department, they have like a budget, they have software packages that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, they're way bigger though. I mean, so it makes sense to be disorganized. Like you have to.
Yeah. So I'm like, this sounds very familiar. Doesn't this sound like Crimson Solutions? Doesn't it sound like this is a paper-based world? And all these guys are using paper. And if we somehow made a cheap system that they can use and charge very little, like maybe $20,000, something like $15,000 a year, right? And then make it super cheap, like 1%, 2% of their cost, right? Something like a credit card transaction, right?
Yeah, something small. And
so we said, and I said, well, that's not a bad idea. And then the second phase, the middlemen, right? The middlemen that exist is the CRO, these research organizations that are consultants for these pharma companies, and they charge 40% of the trial.
It's a lot.
So let's say a trial costs, I don't know, $10 million.
Yeah.
They'll charge $4 million, and they only have 3 jobs really, right? The first job is to find the research sites, basically find out customers. Right? The second site is to have basically an application process where our customers are vetted to find the best ones who should work on this trial. Okay. The third thing they get paid for is they train this staff, this new consultant, the army, right, mercenary army, that they just newly made, and give them some software, some training, and essentially make sure that they do the right procedures, and then come up with the questions to ask and all the data to collect and all that stuff, and essentially train them, right? Train the workforce. And then finally, number 4, once the workforce is kind of like running, just make sure they do a good job, QA them. In particular, fly around the country, right? Because you gave these guys a dashboard, like an electronic portal, a website essentially, where they have to enter the data that they collect. But because the paper is originally on paper, the data is originally on paper because you guys use paper, the pharma reps, these CROs, are paid to fly across the country to look at the paper and make sure they typed it in correctly.
It's like babysitters, basically. Well, I mean, at the same time,
literally that is someone's job. So they'll fly to Boise, Idaho, stay 2 days, have a binder, and just make sure that, when I type the letter A, that I actually typed it correctly, literally. And they'll put these sticky notes. In these binders where they find missing data or mistakes. and they say, I'll come back in 3 weeks and make sure you fix all these problems, and I'll make sure that, and then they correct them.
Yeah.
And basically, that's the QA process, and it costs 30% of all research.
That's crazy. I mean, like, I was just like making an entire business out of typos or human negligence.
Well, I mean, this is before computers, right? But this was actually needed. Like when all this paperwork was there was no computers. This person, they were the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
They were the internet. Like, they were the ones who grabbed the paper, consolidated it, made sense
And
of
not
it.
everybody had computers.
But
or
now the
anything.
internet exists. Right, so the only job is to QA, but the thing is, they come to, so we basically say, okay, that's a great idea. And I say, well, now what happens is we actually have 20% of all research sites using our platform now.
Okay, that's awesome.
I believe we have, when I left the company, we had 600 plus customers.
That's great.
And I believe we have 1,000 plus customers out of the 3,000 possible customers.
That's a huge chunk of the market.
Correct.
So basically, that
And
makes
we
you like
make
kind
a
of
lot
like
of
the
money.
standard. If like if they don't have.
So, yes, we are the standard. So if you look at eSource, we are the market leader. We pioneered eSource.
Man, congrats.
You want to hear the story of that? Yeah, you want
course
to
I
hear
do.
how we became the. So basically, all 20%, 30% of all research is on our platform right now. I'm very proud of that.
It is.
So think about it.
Something
Right?
to be proud of.
So the average drug.
Yeah.
Did you know the average drug takes $1 billion and about 10 years to get to market? Did you know that?
No, but I feel like there's a lot of like old stuff being taken into consideration there.
Yeah. So let's say I find so that's why like no one thought the COVID vaccine would go so fast. That's usually how it
Exactly.
goes,
Like,
right? So you have an idea, you go from a mouse experiment, all that stuff.
Which is one of the reasons why
But
like
did you
everybody
know-
distrusted it so much. I'm like, it just like, this is way too fast.
But did you know that 30% of the cost is that flying around like I just explained to you?
30%. It's just checking on people so
30%
they
cost.
type things properly.
Pretty much the QA process. And that could be avoided if everyone just do use an electronic system. So basically, this is what's called the last mile problem.
Okay.
Everything's electronic on the pharma
Yeah.
side. Those guys, they got their act together. But this contract workforce, it's like you're getting an Uber driver. But you can't get one Uber driver. You have to get 100 Uber drivers, right? So you have to have 100 contractors in Uber to bill and basically book a ride. Right? And this is a ride to do a research trial. So what we're doing is now that we have 1,000, you can book a ride with us. That's the second phase.
Okay.
So the first phase is let's get all these customers.
Yeah.
Let's make all these Uber drivers, there's all these taxi drivers, let's make them all electronic. Okay, so what we said, okay, these research sites, they don't want to use paper. They want to use something electronic, but they can't afford it. So basically we went and said, hey, let's build clinicalresearch.io. It's a web-based system. It's like a survey monkey. So easy you can use. You can create any survey you want. But it's fully compliant with Part 11, which is something that's different from HIPAA. You might have heard of HIPAA, right?
Nope.
But HIPAA is a healthcare regulation, right?
Okay.
And basically Part 11 is the regulation the FDA requires that you track who did what doctor did what nurse collected what data, and you know the origin story for that, right? Do you know how the FDA was actually created and all this stuff was created?
No, actually, I just like
Okay.
assumed it was always like a regulation thing that was always around, like from the beginning.
Yeah, so it wasn't that case. So in the 1920s, I believe, it was like the early 1900s. People were just trying new medicine like penicillin.
Yeah.
It cured, that's a miracle. But other medicines too were being tried, and there was no real process. So we just did what they wanted, right? And so what happened is these kids started getting these deformities.
Oh, that's bad.
Like I think they look like, I think it was dwarfism or something.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So they look like dwarfs or whatever, that had this deformed limbs or whatever
Yeah,
it was. It was
something
really
was off.
really terrible, and it was because of this research trial.
Oh,
Okay, right, and basically this unethical doctor and all these other people basically made all these things, and they didn't know what was going on. There was no clear audit trail, and there was no process.
I think back in the days, people got away with this some like weird, like anything actually.
Right, and there's no ethical.
No, there was
board.
no rules. It was
So
like
wouldn't it make sense to have a board of ethics? Like maybe maybe at your hospital or something, have all these doctors get together, form some type of judge, and these judges can say, okay, what should you do in a research trial? What's ethical, right? And when you ask the patient, you have to basically have patient consent, make sure the patient knows what they're getting into. And these procedures and everything, they should, in terms of what you test, what drug to give, how to give the drug, the dosage, all that, there should be something that oversees it, right? Don't you agree?
Yeah, no, definitely. But I feel like sometimes even the doctors don't know what the hell's going to happen. So they're like, you know what? Out of sheer ignorance, they might not actually give you their best advice, which is crazy as well.
So let's do 2 layers, right? What did you just say? Let's do 1 layer. We'll call it the IRB, right? The IRB is Institutional Review Board, and that's in your hospital. That's in your research facility. These are people who are specialists who know what they're doing, who are supposed to be the cop for you, for your company, for your organization, right? And the IRB has to approve it. It's basically informal, but essentially that's why IRBs exist. So when you go to any doctor who do research trials, they have to go through an IRB to review all the procedures of that. Okay, and then we need like a government agency to oversee everything called the FDA, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they exist.
Okay, makes sense.
But literally, it's self-policing.
Yes.
All self-policing. So the IRB, they're the ones who determine if the COVID trial is actually scientifically true. Scientifically, like true, accurate, but scientifically valid, right? Something that would yield stats, data,
good results,
efficacy, safety data that actually would be valid to submit to the FDA. The FDA leans on that quite a bit, but obviously they have to vet that as well, and they vet the procedures and all that stuff. So there's value in that process of understanding how to get that data. That's where the CRO should really have most of their work. That's really kind of hard, right? But then now you know what questions to ask. You know the procedures. What if you can just say, give me a list of everybody by searching on those people. I want doctors who've done diabetes trials before, who have this equipment, this history of this, who charge this much, et cetera, right? And then I want to book them, and I want them to ask these specific questions, and I want to pay them a certain amount, and I want them to bill me a certain way, and I want this to be fully automated as much as possible, right? And I can obviously self-service or have my consulting company, the CRO, self-service to some degree. Maybe they brought me in, right? And then it'll be so much faster because now I can just go ahead and launch this within a few weeks, a few months.
Yeah, it's so much more efficient.
And then when the data comes back, and all the data is live, and I know I don't have to travel anymore because there's no paper.
Yeah. You don't have to physically go over there.
Right. So what happens is these research sites, we show them eSource. So eSource is a SurveyMonkey functionality where you can create your database of data that you want to collect. Okay. And then eSource, you can configure it quickly. You can drag and drop. You can actually load libraries, templates of templates of people using. For example, let's say you have a blood test, right? You might have asked 5 questions. Or what arm? Let's say blood pressure, right? What arm did you take? Left, right? Did you use the left arm? Okay. What's the blood pressure? Okay. And then the next procedure could be something else. Did you take the heart rate? Right? Did you take the BMI? And all these things are very common things you can just drag and drop because all these procedures are the same. These pharma companies usually ask you the same thing about 50% of the time. And then the 50% that's different, you can make your own questions, make your own templates, and then literally it will appear in your tablet, right, or your computer, and you can just start collecting the data with your patient. You're good. And
that's it. You don't have to go anywhere.
No, and then if you have questions that you can change it, and it keeps an audit trail, so you're fully compliant.
Yeah.
We'll show you how to actually get all the certifications you installed the first time. And then once you have it, you can use it for all your trials. And literally, if this trial is the same as the other trial, just copy paste and then change a bunch of things here and there. And not only that, but let's say you have a nurse, right? And your nurse has a patient, and the patient has a pregnancy.
Okay.
And if the patient is pregnant, the pharma company might pay you for an extra test.
Okay. Yeah.
A pregnancy safety test or something like that, right? And the nurse will have to tell the accountant or the finance person that they did this extra procedure and they should get paid $500. Makes sense, right? Or let's say this patient has a special MRI that they have to take, and each time you take an MRI, you have to basically charge this much, right? But what if you forget to tell the finance person?
Well, then
that's lost revenue,
all
right?
your math there,
So just shit happens, and 1% of the time, and we've actually studied this, 1 to 2% of the time, you forget to bill. So if you make $3 million a year, $2 million a year, it's going to cost you about 30K, 20K of mistakes. Seems about fair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
1% of the time you make mistakes. They've actually done their own audits based on the customer's own audits. Big institutions, they actually found it's about 3%.
3% is a big. Like, I feel it's a lot for mistakes.
Yeah, but sometimes it's very complicated rules because you're doing 20 trials at a time.
Yeah.
Right, and there's something also called screen failure. So let's say screen failure is like, okay, let's say the pharma company says, okay, I want to make sure that you only get good patients that enroll. So if you screen people, that means I want to check out if you're qualified. I'm going to pay you up to 5 patients, but after that, I'm not going to pay you because you can be qualifying 1 billion people and none of them qualify.
Oh.
So why would I pay for people that don't qualify, right? So maybe I'll make some complicated rule. I'll say, okay, how about this? We'll make it fair. We'll negotiate. Every time you get 2 good people, I'll give you an extra bonus screen fail I pay for, right? Or I'll give you more complicated rules where I say, okay, I'll give you unlimited up to this amount, right? And I'll cap it, right? Or maybe when you do the screen fail, I'll pay you for the MRI, right? And it'll be a certain amount, and that'll be something that maybe some of the screen fails had to do, and maybe if you bill that, you get paid more. So the screen fail itself was actually a complicated thing that we can automate, right? So we could just say, hey, look, bill this way, and these are the screen fails, and then you can automatically say, hey, you should bill 7 instead of 6 because you got this bonus and you forgot about the bonus, right? So, or like you did this MRI, but the thing the nurse doesn't even have to tell you. Let's say the nurse forgot.
Yeah.
Or the nurse had to leave a shift, and then she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you.
Software,
but then it's too late.
Software does it for you.
You build it, and you can't just do that. So it's a hassle, right? Or maybe you just made a mistake because you wrote it down and then you wrote it down wrong and no one could read it. Happens all the time, right?
Especially with doctors. I mean, like, what the hell is up with that handwriting?
or you meant to write it down, but you forgot to write it down because you were rushing, and then you wrote it down later, but then no one, they already audited that thing,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So it should happen. So we basically said, how about this? When we build the system, we said, why don't we charge? So we have to know how to charge a product, right? We'll charge you $20 a visit.
Okay.
So you make $1,000 for the patient. So we charge you 2%, like a Visa card, like 2%. And if you count up all the money, right, the 2%, just by using the finance module that we have, you will save 3%. So you save 3% automatically because you don't have to worry about billing anymore. Because as someone does the procedure, we know the data.
Yeah, and stuff will not add up.
And we can send it to the finance module that we built, and the accountant person, they don't have to nag your nurses anymore.
Oh, that's awesome.
The nurses don't have to say anything.
It kind of pays itself.
They just do it, and Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of electronic, right? And you just get the benefits of that.
Well, you remove the human error.
And not only that, but you can make more money because your doctors, they don't have to be there. You know DocuSign, right?
Nope.
DocuSign, you can send this document, and people can do electronic signatures. Well, basically, you can do the same thing for lab reports.
Okay.
You can basically have a doctor look at a lab report, and then review it, and sign off remotely using electronic signature.
Okay, yeah.
And now your doctors can work remotely, and they don't have to travel anymore, and they can do more sites. So let's say you have 3 locations. They don't have to travel through 3 locations. Like Monday I'll be here, Tuesday I'll be here, Wednesday I'll be there. They can just be there anytime because they can also work remote. So one of the pictures we have is a doctor in his pajamas on his laptop signing off on documentation, and that was one of our marketing brochures. Pretty cute, right?
Of course. Like that way, like if you don't have to actually commute anywhere, you get so much time. Like something that happened with COVID, like that I actually start appreciating now. You don't have to go anywhere to get things done nowadays.
Yeah, and not only that, but let's say you're Raymond. Let's go back to why we had this. So we went to fundraise.
Okay.
And guess how many people thought the idea was good?
Out of 100%, or like how many?
I have a list of all the VCs. We went to at least 50 VCs over the course of 3 months pitching the idea. And we got 0 people.
0? Okay, I would have said like
0 VC.
10, 20.
No, when we met with them.
Yeah. But none of them wanted it.
They said, hey, it's impossible, here's why. And they listed all these reasons. And they even had people, we got far with some of them because we went to Harvard, but we just had an idea. We didn't even have a product. But we did have 10 customers. that said they wanted to use it,
Okay.
right? So we did have something to bring to the table, but you just had an idea. So obviously it's going to be a hard sell, right? So I can see why they don't want to invest in it at that stage. But it was good practice for us. And then we went the angel route. So, remember what I said, like the first check is not going to be a venture capitalist. The first check is some crazy person
Yes.
who wants to take a
Just
risk.
believes in it.
So we met this guy named Raymond as well.
Okay.
So I guess I was meant to work with Raymond. So this is named Raymond Chang. So the first one is Raymond Namizu, is my partner, who's Japanese, and this Raymond Chang is from Taiwan. So I meet this Raymond Chang guy. Okay. This Raymond Chang, just because we're trying to network angel investors, and he basically says, yeah, I'll do it. I'll cut 100K check, 150K check. I'll bring in other people. I'll help, and let's get this going.
Of course, it's a great idea.
Okay, so later on, we thought we're hot shots, all this stuff, right? Later on, like years later, I found out the real truth. You want to hear the real truth?
Of course I do. Like,
sometimes you have to be lucky. Sometimes you have to pitch. But the thing is, always some cowboy. So this guy's a cowboy. He was a CEO. He's a Taiwanese entrepreneur.
Okay.
He had made his money in Taiwan, and he came to the United States. You know what he said? He said, I wanted to make a splash. I want to just throw random money at random things, as many as I can. Kind of like when you come to a party and you want all the women to pay attention, right? You just buy hey, everyone drinks on me, right?
Yeah.
And all the women's like, this guy must be
later.
hot. Well, the men's like, I want to be his friend. So he's like, let me go invest in like 15 companies. And we were just lucky that we were one of the 15.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Like, whatever,
So
great
it was
timing.
Yeah, great timing. But so we put our own money, a little bit of our own money, and basically off to the races. And and the last second, so we had 500K.
Okay.
And this last second, this VC came in called Rally. So we had 800K to start.
That's great. Okay. But was it enough to get you guys started?
Yeah, it was enough for the first 2 years. We got the product out.
Cool.
And we went to this conference. Okay, so this is how we know we made. Okay, so the first conference we went to was in October, right? And it was called SCRS. So this is the biggest conference in clinical research. Like thousands of clinical research professionals, the best pharma companies, and they congregate in Florida. And we go to the main session. This is the first experience at any conference in clinical research. And they said, everyone needs to buy eSource. eSource is going to be the future. And our booth was an eSource product. We were the first eSource product that you can buy as a research site.
That is awesome.
And so it was a free ad.
Yeah.
It was literally a free ad. People came to our booth, okay? No one knew who we were. And they're like, oh, good job, guys. We had a rinky-dinky, like, terrible setup, terrible table. I don't even know if we had these nice shirts. I just know, maybe we had these nice shirts. Maybe this is from the original shirt database. Yeah, this is actually the original shirt database. It has this cloud, right? So this is the original. I'll wear the new one. So it looks like this. So we got this Fiverr logo. This is a Fiverr logo. It costs $50. I have a better one later. We made a better one later. But so we had this Fiverr logo T-shirt, and then we gave these pens, and the pen would say something like, "Why are you using this pen? Use eSource instead."
Okay.
And the pen was a tablet pen. You know,
Yeah.
those pens.
You can actually just touch your
so
screen.
it also was a regular pen as well. It was a dual pen. So that was the first year. That was 2016. Okay. So the second year, in the same conference. Same thing, eSources, blah, 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 blah. And then we basically get more people coming to our booth. Actually, people know who we are. The vendors start, coming and being friendly with us.
Well, yeah, you're
Third
business
year.
now, and you're somebody.
Okay.
That's right.
The third year we start taking off, right? The vendors start hating us. Because some of them are competitive to us right now. So what we did was actually very smart. So here's what we did, right? So we're like, okay, let's build eSource. We have one of two choices. Either collaborate with everyone else in the industry, or we'll focus on the customer needs, what the customer really wants. And we can go faster if we have our faith in our own destiny, if we build every product that the customer needs. But then we're going to have to compete with all these other companies head on. And that was a ballsy move, but that was the best move that we made to take on the entire industry. So literally, we did eSource. So that's basically, when you fill in the paperwork, right? But at the end of the paperwork, right, you have to book an appointment from the next person for the next appointment for the person to come in, right? Then you have to text that person to remind them. And then you might have to have a salesperson call them if there's a research trial that they're qualified for. And then you might have to pay them when they come do the visit using a stipend card or like some type of debit card, so you don't have to worry about cash, right? So you just give them a stipend card.
There you go.
And then you can also have to send the billing, the financial accounting, to essentially the pharma company, so the pharma company can pay you. And then you have to have these fancy reports so that the boss knows what's going on, right? And then all this stuff, we built the entire thing.
That's awesome.
And we made them into modules. So if you look at clinicalresearch.io, we took the brave but wise choice of taking on all the other industries, and literally I coded it all myself.
But you're not there to make friends. I mean, like, and you have like a great product. Like, they know they're scared. At the beginning, they show up being like, "Oh, let's see what you got," and then try to be friendly to get information. And once they realize you're actually a threat, like that's good. That's like great news. Where they actually see you as a threat as a startup. That is awesome.
Yeah, but here's the thing I'm proud of, right? You know what GitHub is?
Yes.
GitHub is where the source code. Right? If you look at the GitHub of the code for clinicalresearch.io, I coded 80% of it personally.
Oh, 80%.
80%. Okay, so here's the situation. We don't have that much money. So the money was just to pay for me to work full-time on it and code.
Okay.
I also had this guy named Ed. He was working part-time at the beginning, coding as well, part-time. And I had this assistant. Her name was Zoe. And she was like English major, and I was teaching how to code. She was a junior developer. So the three of us wrote the whole thing.
It's not a lot of people. Huh?
A junior developer under my wing.
Yeah.
I wrote, I would say 4 out of the 5 modules. And Ed wrote the other module and some stuff. But then Ed left the company, a couple years into it. And then I continued writing all of it, but basically look at everything there, I wrote all of it, personally with Zoe. And Zoe did most of the front end. She did so when the designs were done, so Elvis also did the designs, but he's really talented. And so were the other, that's it. There's no one else. It was just me, Elvis, Zoe, so it's 4 people. Almost like the Beatles, right? We had 4 of us create the greatest albums ever. In clinical research, that is.
Man, that's awesome because
because people don't understand that's what coding is.
You were right there. I mean, like all these things, like I feel that all this information should be like very valuable for anybody that's listening to us, because like you were right there in the front lines of all of these like companies being developed, and it's you that got most of it like out. So everything we've been saying.
I think that was the secret power, right?
Everything
we built 4 industries worth of products, and it was all in my head. It was Elvis and me figuring out the product front end, me coding it personally with Zoe helping with some of the HTML, CSS lighter code, right? But literally, think of it this way, right? You're writing a book. Coding is writing a book, and let me tell you the magic of coding. Okay? Have you read Harry Potter?
I've seen the movies. Like, the book is better. I know, I hate her. Like, sure, I've seen the movies.
Okay. So, do you know what a muggle is?
I do.
Okay, what's a muggle?
Normal humans, though.
And what's wrong with the humans?
They're magicless.
And why are they magicless?
I don't know. They live in other places.
They don't know about magic. Yeah. And every time there's an incident, they get wiped out, their memories.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. It happened.
It's like the Men in Black, but like that's what happens in Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
There's it's called the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic forbids the use of magic outside of certain. Okay, I tell this to my kids, but Roberto, you're a muggle, and here's why. A long time ago, a great magician learned the secrets of magic and wanted everyone to hoard magic, so he cast a spell so that everyone called magic science. Okay? And it made it so boring that no one wanted to study science. Because you want to study magic, everyone wants to study magic, but science is boring. But coding is like spells. Okay? So when you code, you're casting spells, and the spells tell a computer to do something, but a computer is literally a demon or a genie. Okay, AI is a genie, and you can summon a genie, and the genie you can make wishes, or you can tell the genie instructions.
Just like tell it
And
what to do.
literally, I was being trained to be a mage my entire career. I started being a mage when I was 20, and I've been crafting my mage spell casting for all these years, and I cast the greatest spell book of my life. And this spell book now allows clinical research to be powered magically by a wand and a tablet of a magical glass. The wand is your iPhone, your tablet, a magical glass tablet, right? Or some type of mirror, that's your desktop. But all these muggles, including you, the magician casts a spell to make it normal, to make it something that you take for granted, that you don't understand that when you code and you learn computer science, you're learning how to become a magician, and then you're going to Hogwarts. And that for all these years, I've been going to Hogwarts, and now I'm going to become Dumbledore, because I'm going to release this magic spell, so that now, Roberto, you realize who I am. You realize what science is. It's magic. You realize that computer science is casting spells. You realize that hardware, your scooter, is the broom, right? The scooter that I ride, the electric scooter, is the broom in Harry Potter. Your car, right, is literally, you know, whatever, like a magical pumpkin. I'm saying, all this stuff, you've been cast a spell to take for granted, and you call it science.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch of people that have no idea where things come from.
But literally, that is what's going on.
Yeah.
So when you enchant an item, you enchant a tablet, you enchant a block of stone, and it becomes a window into your friend. It's called FaceTime. Okay? When you cast a spell so that someone comes to your door, it shows you who they are, and you can let them in. That's called the Ring doorbell. Right? When you cast a spell so you can take all the gold out of water, and all the minerals and all the riches out of liquids, that's called Phuc Labs. Okay? And that's the magic that people forget. We live in a world where we're all muggles, and a few of us understand that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
We're working on the true magic. And that's why I'm so passionate about what we're doing. Like, we're literally changing the world with magic, and you guys are muggles, and you guys don't understand that this is literally what's going on. There's nothing different. The word is different. Everything I just said, just replace that word, and that's literally science and magic. They're the same thing.
No, definitely. Like, there's things that you get to do that seem like so incomprehensible for some people, and they're like, okay, that's magic. Like, no, and you just do it in a way that is natural. Well, I think that's what you said.
Yeah, and take.
I've been practicing doing
So
this whole life.
Dumbledore can cast a spell and kill Voldemort, right? Or whatever. They can do something. You can make a potion. That's chemistry. That's medicine.
Yeah.
Right? You can basically make a mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? That's Instagram.
No,
You see that, right?
Filters, though. That's what that
Well,
mirror.
maybe. Well, it depends how pretty you are. Right? Maybe you want to make yourself pretty. And then, you know, and then if you want to go to an epic battle, right? And you say, hey, look, King, I am a magician from the future. I have come to guide you, but you must believe I'm a magician. Let me show you 3 miracles. The first miracle is I'll have my hand play music, any song of your king's desire. So the king says, that is impossible. You put it on Spotify, you play the song he likes. Okay. The king said, oh my God, that's incredible. Then the king says, okay, but what else can you do? I say, using my phone, I can predict the weather for tomorrow. There will be a thunderstorm at 3, it'll end around 4. And it happens exactly the right way. Oh my God, how did you do that? And then you say, okay, so King, if you believe I'm really a mage and I can be of help, I can be a Merlin. Can you make me your Merlin? Can you make me rich and famous and all that? Of course I can. Perform one more miracle for me. Prove it. So go ahead, Roberto, make an example.
Like, man, one of these ones. I don't know. Do you want your drinks to be cold? Then you just make it.
Yes, of course, Roberto. But how is that possible?
Like,
It is so sweltering hot here in
like,
the
no.
deserts of Nevada, whatever it is, right?
Here's ice through this like the refrigerator. Let me introduce you to the refrigerator. It is like I feel like, but it relies heavily on like on other people's ignorance though. Like even to appreciate the fact that you're giving things, like there has to be the contrast.
It's not ignorance. It's just that they're not capable. If you try to explain
Mhm.
it, right? It's not like you're trying to fool them. It's just like they're just not capable, right? And so what are you gonna do in that situation? You're just gonna say, well, let me try to be Merlin,
Yeah, tell them in a way
or
that
let me just walk around with an iPhone and I don't know, and then this refrigerator. I don't know. So you see that? So like basically science is that, but you can make money with it if you're smart. So that's what we did, right? So at Phuc Labs, we're like, okay, I have a new spell. Let me sell this spell. Oh, at Clinical Research IO, I have this spell, right? I can chant this item, and then we can make your workforce automatic. Right? We can make your workforce more efficient. We can make the humans have magical powers, and they can do things better. And that's what we do. And we live in this world where people don't understand that. And if you do STEM, STEM
Yeah.
in the U.S., that's basically the program for that's basically Hogwarts.
yeah, no, definitely. Like I feel it applies to everything you decide to study or that you think you're good at. Like you go to a specific place to learn those skills.
Yeah, and you know what? It's working on my kids. Like I have 3 kids. My daughter, 12, Miley, she's gonna learn JavaScript. And you know why? She's gonna make a video game, a choose your own adventure game.
Okay.
And she's gonna launch a website. It's called Bunny Arts. BunnyArts.com. She's the one that has more subscribers than me, by the way, on YouTube already, right?
Of course.
But look, the kids, if you explain it the way I explain it, the eyes widen like, holy crap, this is so cool. But then it's not lying to them.
No, it's just like rephrasing things, and the information stays the same. It's just conveying the message in the proper way, like in a way that is more entertaining to them, that is better and more appealing.
Yeah, and that's the magic, and that's why like after 3 strikes,
Yeah, but that's the thing that not everybody gets,
I
though.
wasn't out.
Like-
After 3 strikes, the magic was still there because, it's like, how do you like? It's not baseball, it's magic.
Yeah, but there's like
There's no 3 outs in
not
magic,
like,
right? You just keep trying until you're
there's
good.
a bunch of things that have
Like
to come
Hogwarts,
together, though. I mean, like yes, you got the magic, but then you have the communication skills as well, which is another type of magic if you want. Like because the fact that you can do something doesn't mean you can convey the information of why it should be done.
Yeah, so just because just because you want to cast a
Yeah.
spell, that doesn't mean you can, right? You have to try hard, and sometimes you have to be lucky. And like remember Harry Potter? He was trying to cast that spell with the
Leviosa. Like it's I
something
studied
where
it.
he had a hard time because he just couldn't mentally get there. He couldn't resolve his emotional issues, and he didn't
Yeah.
get the right timing. And eventually, the Patronus came when he needed it the most.
Yep.
And when I needed it the most, Clinical Research IO came, and I said yes again. Like, all you have to do in your life is say yes. Yes to side gigs. Yes to trying. Yes to trying to do something great. And then yes to potentially selling the company.
Yeah.
So, at some point, right around COVID 2020, we were doing really well. Like we had hundreds of customers. We were selling like hotcakes, and we were profitable. Finally, hallelujah. We had 10, 15 people in the company, a really great staff. Things were going rocking, and it's doing so well that someone came and said, "Hey, I really like your company. Let's talk. Maybe we buy you guys."
Oh.
And then a second company said, "Hey, I like your company. Maybe we should talk." And they went to the board and said, "What should we do?" He's like, "Well, let's get a banker. Let's see what our options look like, and if the price is reasonable,
Yeah.
let's weigh our options, and let's if it's something that 50 million, 100 million,
Start dealing from there.
or even 30 million. I don't know. We'll see what it looks like. Let's see what
But
happens."
you wanted to sell?
And I'm like, and I said, remember, I think I started this in episode 1. Was a lot of soul searching, and in February I resigned, and I said, let's sell the company. I handed it off to my partner Raymond, And I said, I need to basically sell this for my mom because I'm 44. This is like I'm 43, 44, right? And my dad had passed away in 2017. So we got the offer in 2020, 3 years after my dad had passed away. And my mom, she has health issues. And I said, look, let's take care of her because she has so many years left. And we came to this country with nothing. Going back to the journey, right? On a boat. And I don't care how rich I am. I just want to see me be successful and also know that we're taken care of and all that, right? And that was the absolute right choice. Even though after COVID, the company didn't sell. Because what happened is the company doubled in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So we just barely made profit. Now we're making double.
Yeah.
And we got more funding, so you can look it up. We had a Series A, and then now we have double the number of customers because now during COVID,
everybody
guess what? You need a paperless online system
that's reliable,
especially with the hot. Not only do you need it, but guess what?
It's a standard.
You're the one industry who didn't get screwed.
Yeah, definitely.
You're the one industry who got more business, right? In fact, you get even so much business because of COVID, and all the stuff gets backlogged for all the other stuff. So not only do you have business, but you have business for years and years and years, but you need something electronic to scale. And with something like hotcakes, and the pharma companies, they're gonna need to work with us. And when they start cutting those checks, and instead of $15,000, $20,000 clients, multi-million-dollar clients, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Merck, all these companies, and my partner is doing a fantastic job. The company's doing a fantastic job. Now we're 50 people, 60. When I left, it was 15.
Yeah, I know.
We had built this org chart. We had this plan how to grow the company.
And it's growing.
And we really grew it. And now we have operations in several countries. Europe, we already had operations before, but now we actually have physical offices in Seattle and also in different locations. So I feel really proud of that. And I still have stock. I mean, I invested all my shares. So basically, I got all the upside that from all my.
Now you didn't lose at the beginning, like in the first business. Like this time, you actually held on to stuff.
And that's my home run, but it hasn't gone out of the park yet. It has to land at some point, but it will land. But I see it go over the park already.
Good.
I see it clearly profitable. Even though we grew to 50 people, I know we're making a lot, right? So and then I know that that's just the beginning, but I also know that 30% less time. 30% less costs for clinical research will be a direct result, or something like that, right? And because of that, there'll be more drugs, there'll be more innovation. Instead of 10 years, there'll be 7 years. Someone will get saved because of those 3 years. And only those 3 years, remember the rule of 70, right? You can double, so if you grow, you can do 7-year cycle instead of 10-year cycle, right? You can actually do more drugs, do more innovation. And that is something that humanity will benefit forever. I'm very proud of that. And every company is like a child. It's like a baby, right? And this is the baby that made it big, and I'm so proud of it.
And I feel like an important aspect of this whole situation is like you said, like the part you sold. There's a human aspect that doesn't leave the whole thing, and it's about your legacy. Like this thing, all this is gonna stay here, and you built it. And it's
built it by
like plastic. Like you're actually good, like a good thing, like that is going to be around forever, or like for the next years, and it's the basis of other stuff that will be built upon it, and that's something like not everybody leaves anything behind that is good for everybody.
Yeah, and I think in terms of as an artist, right? Like I feel like I'm an artist. An entrepreneur is an artist. So some artists they have vocal range. Some artists they can make a good beat. Some artists have this, but I feel like I have the complete game, right? So, I think the closest would be someone like Elon Musk, where he's a great engineer, he's a great salesperson, he's a great marketing person, he's a great leader, great recruiter, all that stuff. He has a complete game, right? He's like, and so that's what I wanted next, right? I want the championship belt, very competitive. Right? I want to take it from whoever has the belt.
Go for it.
And I have some ideas. Because, like I said, to be a billionaire, you have to have one win, and that was win. That was my one win right there. And then my mom's taken care of. I know eventually, at some point, that company's gonna cash out, and know that it's gonna be my legacy. And now I'm going for the championship, in terms of future legend. So I was walking down the street the other day, and I saw a sticker that said "Future Legend."
And you bought it, of course.
future legend. So I'm taking that. Phucsters, we're witnessing Babe Ruth. I'm pointing at the home run I'm about to hit. Right? Vision Valve, Phuc Labs, Mass Realty.
That's a great one.
More.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be like, I'm going solo. Right? I have my crew. I have Phuc Labs. I have other people, but I'm going solo. I have my crew. I have my band, but I want to prove that I'm the champion. I'm Tom Brady of entrepreneurship. And Tom Brady is what, 44, 43, right? Same age I am.
Yeah.
And he's at the peak of his career, but he's at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's because of what he does.
Yeah. I feel like I'm at the peak of my career, but I'm at the beginning of it.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. Which man, like,
And then
it's going
Roberto,
from there.
I'm Michael Jordan. You're my Scottie Pippen.
For sure. I actually know who that is now.
You're my bro, man. We're gonna do this together. And so, you Phucsters, you guys gonna be here too. And it seems braggadocio right now. Seems a little bit too confident, a little bit arrogant. But you have to see some of the stuff that's happened so far in the last year.
Can definitely back it up. So like it will come in the next episodes and everything will make more sense. But like, it's not just like bullshit right now. Everything is being backed up for sure.
Yeah, and the thing is, right? It's not about me.
No.
It's about the future of humanity.
Yeah.
Like science, technology, mages, wizards need to cast new spells, need to make new potions, need to make new enchantments so that we can save the world. And I cast a really cool spell this time and enchanted something that's really special. And I'd love to show it to you at some point in a future episode. But thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for listening to us. Please subscribe. Please set your alert on. And hopefully this is a good therapy for you, Roberto.
I love this.
Feel good?
Again, like, and what we're building up to is a great thing. Like, and I'm happy to be part of it and the whole like situation and what's gonna happen in the future. It's like, man, like we'll see. We'll see in the next episodes. Maybe we'll let everybody in and enjoy the rest of your week and see you guys next week.
Thanks so much for
Take care. Bye.